Hi everyone. I wanted to share some tips with you today about setting boundaries with clients. So this was something that was requested in the Facebook group a couple of weeks ago, and it's something that I really wanted to talk to you about because as freelancers, it's really, really important that we set boundaries with our clients and reinforce those boundaries to our clients in order to make sure that we have some kind of balance. We're not being called upon at incredibly bizarre hours, that in terms of things like making sure you're being paid on time and all sorts of things like that. So I thought I'd share with you 3 tips to implement boundaries with your clients and also make sure that they are kept to. So the first tip I have is your terms and conditions. And I know I go on about this quite a lot, but it's so important that you set some terms and conditions with your clients before you even start working with them. So I have a template on my website, which I'll pop the link to below. And it's quite a simple template. You can tweak it however you want, but it basically states things like how quickly I expect invoices to be paid, what hours I'm available, all sorts of things. Like if you're a photographer, you might want to put in there about permissions for photos and rights and things like that. If you're a copywriter, you might want to add in some bits about how many revisions are included and things like that. So setting those boundaries is really important. And if you have your terms and conditions, you send it over to them. They come back and approve it, sign it, however you want to do it. Even if you email it to them and they come back and say that's fine, at least you've got that on record and you can refer back to that. So that's my first step. Always set your terms and conditions with your clients. My second step is to stick to your guns with them. So if you set your hours as, say, 9 to 5, that's when you're available, and they start emailing at sort of 6, 7 p.m, don't reply to them until you're in your work hours, because once you start creeping into that, into those later hours, they'll then start to expect it. So you do have a responsibility to try to stick to those times. If it's emergency, like at the weekend, that's fine, but they may have to incur extra costs because of that, and I would make that clear if possible. So you can say in your terms and conditions, these are my working hours. However, if there's an emergency outside those hours, I can be available, but I will need to charge extra for that time. So it's really important that you stick to these boundaries as well. And things like with your notice period, if you set not notice period, so your invoice period, if you said that 30 days notice or 30 days is the payment period and they don't pay within that time, you need to be quite strict and make sure that they're clear at the end of that time. And you can do that easily with tools like Wave and FreshBook and FreeBooks, Free Agent, sorry, FreeBooks. It's very easy for them to set out automated reminders, so that will send them out for you. So just a revision if you have just joined. So the first one was to set your terms and conditions and get your client to approve it. Second, stick to your guns with your boundaries. So you kind of have that responsibility yourself. And the third little tip is you can include those terms and conditions and those boundaries elsewhere. So you may want to include at the bottom of your email your working hours as kind of a gentle reinforcement constantly of what your working hours are, and they can go back and check them, or kind of just be drilled into their brain about it. In terms of your payment period and things like that, make sure that those are included at the bottom of your invoices as a reminder. So it doesn't hurt to constantly remind them. So put them in sort of places like that. Have them on your website that you can send a link to them so that they kind of have got that as a reference point as well. So try to make sure that you have those boundaries available for them to check sort of as often as they like, really. But it doesn't help to gently reinforce it by popping it in your email footer or on your in your contracts, and obviously in your contracts, but anywhere kind of else that they might refer to quite often. It's really useful to have your terms and conditions there. So I hope that helps. Do let me know if you've got any questions. I don't think we've got anyone at the moment. Do pop it in the comments below and I'll come back for that. And I've got a few other boundary tips as well, but I might do another video about that at some other point. Any questions you have, you want me to tackle in a video next week, let me know in the comments below.